This is Geetika Ki Canadian Diary, a platform where we discuss issues that matter to you and me, all of us. Some of these issues do not have a geographical boundary on a map. These issues are on everyone's mind in every culture, every religion, and country. One such issue that needs all of us to work towards a positive change, work as a team, is keeping our girls, women safe and free to do whatever they want in their lifetime. We have someone very special as a guest today to talk about this topic. Asma Mahmood is born in Pakistan, has been privileged to work in many countries, getting various perspectives on various topics, some challenging and thought provoking, has raised three wonderful girls in Canada, and has carved a special niche for herself in the Canadian arts community. She is a visual artist, artistic director, Mosaic Festival, Canadian Community Arts Initiative, Missaf Film Festival, Mosaic Sounds, Rock the Coliseum. Welcome, Asma Mahmood. Thank you.
Thank you, Geetika. So lovely to be with you as a guest once again after many, many years. I remember your program on Omni used to be one of our favorite shows, and we absolutely loved you then as well.
Oh, thanks, Asma. My very first question to you is, take us back in time. How was it growing up as a girl in Pakistan?
The family was, my father is a military man, and we came from a very large family of uncles and aunts, my mother's side, my father's side. And we loved meeting both sides of the family. It was a very happy childhood, not really very different. In those days, Pakistan military did not have the kind of facilities and privileged brats that we have today. Life was very much, very practical. The good point of being a military kid was that we moved around a lot. All our stuff used to be, I remember the truck would come, all the plants would go in, my mother's prized possessions, and then all the furniture, and there will be people packing up. One day you go to school, next day you come home from school, and your whole house is packed, and you get put in the car, and you go to another town, and next day you wake up, the whole house is set up again, because there used to be so much help, and they would come and fix everything, and so on and so forth. So it was a very nice, adventurous, playing outside type of childhood. My father was an engineer in army, so he had access to a lot of things which ordinary army people did not have access to. For example, on our birthdays, a regular feature was showing Disney movies and cartoon movies on the white sheet which was hung, and everybody, after the cake was cut and food eaten, you'd sit down and watch those animated cartoons, and that was the highlight of our existence at that time. All children, all friends from that time period remember those interesting videos and those birthday parties.
That is so interesting. So you had a privileged childhood. That is a blessing.
Absolutely.
But growing up as a girl, how were the other girls feeling about being a girl?
Geetika, Pakistan was a very progressive country when I was growing up. I remember there was a lot of music, culture, art around us all the time. My father was a great photographer. He loved photography. He had and he was very supportive of women's education and emancipation. I learned so much from him in terms of finding empowerment and going out and talking to people. And our parents loved putting us on, taking us everywhere with them, first thing. Second thing, they would make us talk to adults. They would say, tell them what you're doing, how you're feeling. And Abu was very good with that. I think that gave us a lot of confidence at a
Yeah.
very young age to communicate with the adults. Today, children don't even come out of their rooms, let alone talk to adults, which is a great disservice to their intelligence as well as the growth process.
You were not in Pakistan for a little bit when you were growing up as a young child, and then you went away with your
No, no, no.
family,
That
no?
was when I got married. I got married and I left Pakistan. I was just 21 years old at that time. And we moved to Latin America and we stayed there for 6, 7 years. And then we came back to Pakistan in 91. And from then, I stayed in Pakistan till 99. And then in 99, we moved to Canada.
So, Asma, being outside Pakistan,
Yes.
generally people have an impression that when you are a girl from day one, it's like, oh my God, ladki ho gayi hai ghar pe. Was that the feeling ever in the family or amongst your friends? Did you
Not
ever
my father's side family. No, no, never in my parents' house. We never got that feeling. When, as a matter of fact, there's a joke that when I was born, my father said, went and ordered laddus, and took them to his unit. And they said, Mubarak kuji beta hua hai. My father said, nahi, I have a daughter. He said, yeah, who? The guy came to him and says, who gives laddu for the daughter's birth? So my father said, oh my God, you have no idea how special she is for me. And for me, my daughter is everything. This kind of attitude about he was very open about our education. I remember so well when I was about 17 years old. I was diagnosed with epilepsy at a very early age. So one day, and those rishtas start coming to you, and my mother said to me, and then my parents would tell them that she's epileptic. So one day my father called me to his office and he says, you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to get married, really. You can work with me. Marriage is not everything. I mean, hearing that from a man in Pakistan, it was absolutely thrilling, But the fact was that I did want to get married. I wanted to get married because that was the only way of getting out of the system, Otherwise, you keep getting people coming over, the rishtabazis, the aunties coming in and checking you out. And I felt extremely uncomfortable on that score. And Arshad was somebody that I knew for a long time. And I thought, I was very practical. Look at me. I was 21 years old and I'm thinking about, and I told him that. I was like, when he proposed to me, I said, I don't love you. So he said, it's okay. I love you enough for both of us. And, that kind of made me realize that you don't know what love is at that age. Love is, we use the word too many times without realizing what it means. You don't love another person just because, you are with that person and all. It's a slow process. It seeps into you like gentle rain. And then one day something happens and you suddenly realize that, you love this person and you realize what that love is. So that kind of, that's a part of a growth process. We don't give ourselves time to grow. We jump into relationships. We jump into thinking that our feelings are supposed to go under a certain heading. They don't need to, you can be friends for some times, later start growing as whatever you want to call it. And then, stage comes when you find that you have a feeling where you want to do everything for that person and anything for that person. And that's most probably where, you realize that you love that person, or something happens, and you feel that, that you might lose that person, and you suddenly realize you can't afford to. You just can't live without that person. That is, I think, where you get that realization. And that came to me after 4 years of marriage.
You're kind of talking about, Bollywood movies that we grew up watching. That you
Yeah,
marry and then you get to not know that person, you fall in love eventually.
yeah.
But we live in a very different world. You fall
Mm-hmm.
in love first and then you marry. And sometimes that may not work out as well.
Exactly, because you see, we don't understand affection. We count as love. Respect we count as, oh, I can. We don't even count respect in that relationship.
Yeah.
Although that is one of the most important things in any relationship, whether it's your marriage or it's your friendship, anything. The respect, mutual respect, is, I think, the cornerstone of all relationships. And we don't give it a chance to happen, and that comes when you talk to each other without any agenda.
Yeah. Being open to each other, keeping the conversation line open all the time. I think that's the
Exactly.
key to not just one relationship, but to all relationships everywhere, even at workplace. If you don't talk and you just keep
Yeah.
kind of figuring out, oh, this person doesn't seem to be working with me or whatever. So I
My
think,
father gave me so much confidence that I find in Pakistan girls are so exposed. They are poor things are so exposed. They are game for anybody. Okay, the brothers, except for their brothers and fathers, anybody can encroach on them. Okay, uncles, we know all the uncles, but no,
mm-hmm.
cousins. I find that is one of the most horrible aspect of Pakistani family system, where cousins are allowed to marry cousins. The relationships of cousins should be that of brother and sister. It should be a relationship where people are growing up together, having fun together, playing together, putting rakhis on each other, making sure that you are looking after your cousin sisters and your cousin brothers, celebrating their lives and their achievements and their marriages without the fear of having to put up a show to to make yourself appealing or something or the other. That our girls don't grow up with that sense of ease with men,
I
because
you said it very
they're
well.
always out to get them. So
Has,
that, I think,
has it changed, Asma?
no. Unfortunately, what has happened is Pakistan is one of those countries. Let me give you the stats. Almost 70% of marriages in Pakistan are all within cousins and relatives.
Why do you think is that happening? And even though we know
Property,
biologically,
honey, property. It's about property, so that the property won't get. You see, Islam gives rights to women in property. It's plain and simple. Your father's half goes to the son, 1/3 goes to the daughter, 1/5 goes to the wife, and so on and so forth. So Quran has given all those directions right there. So what happens is people misuse it. They say, oh, if she's going to get 1/3, then that means that property will have to be split. So might as well get her married to the first cousin so that the whole property remains in the family. Right? So unfortunately, these rules, these man-made rules, have become so degenerated. They've degenerated God's rules that we think of from Quran, and they play these games with all these kind of. All people do that, but because I'm a Muslim, so I know that how they misuse Quran, misread Quran, and misinterpret everything. And that is one of the biggest reasons for these. Even though Quran very clearly says, expand your clan, marry outside as well, bring wives from other tribes. Our Prophet did that. Our Prophet married, you see, in those times, without being judgmental, we will never use presentism in history. So in those times, people used to marry many women. And the biggest reason was because there were so many wars. There were so many women who did not have anybody to support them. So men used to marry many women. So the Prophet married women from all stratas of society. He had a Jewish wife. He had a wife who was widowed before. He had a wife who left her husband, didn't want to live with him, and he married her. And she was the wife of his adoptive son. So just so that he wanted to break the mold of the adoption being a real thing, as a blood relationship. So these kind of things did affect the society. It gave people an idea that they can marry, or from all these different groups, and move on. So, coming back to Pakistan and these intermarriages, now the biggest reason that these marriages are still going on is our TV dramas. They are absolutely atrocious. And you find all the girls, in those dramas, towing the same line, the same heartbreaking stories of cousin marriages and inter-family politics. It's disgusting.
It is actually such an important point, Asma, you brought that whatever we watch on television, it impacts us at a very young age. That's how we perceive life. That's how we think things are going to happen, right? Because it's on the screen. It has lots of interesting components that kind of also make us wonder and curiosity arises. But anyway, talking about larger social issues, when there's a big social issue, we often say we have to bring the change at the grassroots level. Do you see, when you go back, I know that you go back home all the time, is there anything happening at the school system where girls, boys are being taught what happens when you marry cousins or when you disrespect women in your life? Like what kind of civics lesson or what kind of medical...
I'll tell you something. There is a very interesting story. There was a king, and he got angry at one of his viziers one day, and he says, now you have a choice. Either you eat 100 onions or you get 100 lashes. What do you want? You choose your punishment. And he thought, the vizier thought, and he said, oh, I'll have the onions. So he started eating onion. After 3 onions, the guy started, his eyes were watering and he was feeling terrible. So he said, no, I'll take the lashes. So after 3 lashes, he was like, oh, no, I think I'll take the onions. So he ate 100 onions and had 100 lashes as well. So this is the story to tell you what Pakistani education system is like. The first thing is we are the products of public school system. Pakistan had a very strong public school system, in which there were military schools, there were government established public schools, the universities were public, everything was public. There were some Christian schools, even they were public Christian schools. The institutions which we called private were never private. They were actually very privileged. The competition was very high for them, and they would accept everybody. There was no limit. It wasn't expensive to get into that. It was just you needed to be very privileged to get into those big families had their children in those schools from like HSN College and all. But in somewhere in 1970s, Bhutto changed the policy and allowed for public schools to start. And in 1980s, the first public school systems by Beacon House were started. After that, the public school education just went downhill. As a result, what has happened now is that we have a very clear class distinction in education. All the rich kids go to private schools. All the poor kids go to public school. When I was studying in public school, the Minister of Agriculture's daughter was my class fellow. And the chapadasi of our principal's daughter was also my class fellow. So there was no class distinction. We grew up knowing all the different challenges in life. Ask the children in these private schools, what is the life like outside? And they have no bloody clue. And the reason is that we have very clearly demarked now that education is now a privilege. Same as with medical system. We grew up with public health systems. There were always these CMH and the national health institutions and so on. And then the private healthcare started, and it absolutely destroyed the public health system. So in Pakistan, what has happened is that because of the private education and private healthcare, the class division has increased. It has now become very polarized country. And because of that, the opportunities which poor girls used to get of getting education in public schools has really diminished. The standard of education has gone down tremendously. Not only the schools I'm talking about universities as well. Because naturally, when you have, in Pakistan, just Punjab University produces 55,000, I think now it's even more, students per year. Our average growth rate, average woman bears 3.8 children, every Pakistani woman. India's birth rate is 2.1 every woman. Bangladesh is even lower than that. Yes. So you are looking at a terrible crisis, both in terms of birth control, because birth control, I remember very clearly when I was young, there used to be birth control teams going house to house, advising women how to take birth control, how to do this. And it's all these religious mafia that we have in the form of our Ziaul Haq's times and all, who have strongly objected to birth control practices. So now that even you can't even get condoms in shops easily, So
trying to say that as we are progressing outside in the whole world,
we are regressing.
Girls in Pakistan, the things are getting worse and worse. Is that what you're trying to say?
Naturally, you see, we look at only those success stories that we see all around us. We don't see that we have literally taken the rung out of under the feet of millions of children. First thing, who are not going to school because they are in the labor market. And second thing, the girls are not getting that education that they used to receive when the public schools were the norm. The quality of education. So now what has happened is that the infusion of religion into everything has made our children learn less about technical aspects, how learning takes place, how to absorb things. It has become more about dumping knowledge on their heads without realizing that the skill development is a more important practice than anything else. I do not see very bright future for women in Pakistan because they are not being treated neither by the media nor by the system nor by the clergy. Nowhere are they getting fair treatment. And you will see the results. In another 10 years, you will find that Pakistan, which really did not have any poverty markers in place because it wasn't widespread poverty, will have those poverty markers in place within these next 5 to 10 years. And it will become a very impoverished nation, unfortunately.
Asma, you have grown up in a privileged family. You said your father was your best and loudest cheerleader.
Yes.
You have raised 3 wonderful people, amazing girls in Canada. So as a team, I can't even imagine. I'm getting just excited in my heart thinking about it and visualizing. As a mother and those 3 smart, brilliant, and kind-hearted 3 girls, when you guys sit together, are there any plans or any ideas that come up and say, you know what, this is what needs to be done back home. This is what the girls need to be done for them.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. The 3 ladies that are my daughters are me and Arshad enjoyed having them. We loved having those kids. I'm telling you, I think we learned a lot of things with them. Of course, no parent comes equipped. But what wise thing that we did was we did not have children immediately after our marriage. We took our time. We needed to grow up as people. We needed to learn about each other. We need to know how life is lived and so on and so forth. So we did not have children right away. I had my twins when I was 25 years old. So that gave us a very good area of, knowing what we want to do, how we want to raise our daughters. I'm also very fortunate that my daughters were raised in the time of when there was no social media. Twins are now 35 years old. Zainab is now 29, going to be 29 in December. So there was no social media. As a result, we were spared the anxieties and the horror of social media, which has played havoc with our children nowadays.
Yeah,
So
I am actually talking about that. I'm actually going
yeah,
to be interviewing a teacher who's going to talk about all of this happening.
absolutely.
Yeah, social media comes with its own pros and cons.
The children, because they were raised without the evil influences of social media, me and Arshad were very clear that if we want our children to read books, then we should be the readers as well. So it was a tradition, I would read to my kids at night, whether they were the religious stories from Qasasul Anbiya or, the other stories. Children, I was not working. I gave all my time to the kids. So it was and I had a lot of help because they were born in Bogota. So children grew up loving good music, reading to each other, walking. They would take their father his evening tea to his office, that kind of thing. I really enjoyed that time with my kids. I was in no rush, and I find that it was such a good, lucky thing for me that I did that way. Then same with Zainab. When Zainab was born, Zainab was born 6 years after twins were born. And basically Zainab was born because I did not have a son, and till you don't have a son, your uterus is supposed to be constantly working. So I think...
Sorry, that's just a message in our society, not in others.
Absolutely. And when Zainab was born, after that, we said, you know what, thank you very much, but no thanks. The pressure was tremendous from my in-laws. My mother-in-law was really a huge fan of, boys and family. And we realized that the pressure will not go away. It only went away when, I think when her own daughter only had daughters. So then, the pressure went away. But really, having children, getting them to grow up in the times when they did was a very easy breezy thing. I had challenges. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I had challenges when they were 16 or 15 years old, right here in Canada, which now I realize were not such a great challenge as challenges that I see parents having nowadays. I feel pity towards those parents and towards those young people as well, because their lives are very difficult.
I'm sure pandemic hasn't helped as well.
No, literally. I've got friends. Yeah, I've got friends who tell me that my children cannot communicate. They cannot even communicate with other children, which is quite ridiculous. So yeah, you see, there is no one fixed formula of growing up. Growing up is hard as it is.
Right.
And when you're exposed to so many influences and affects, then definitely the challenges become even more.
Yes. Asma, my last parting question with you will be, what is your message to girls back home in Pakistan and in Canada? I know you call Mississauga as your home.
Absolutely. Take charge of your lives. Learn skills. Learn languages. Marriage is not the ultimate goal. Marriage is along the way. You will get married one day. Do not get married to just getting married. There is no bigger insult to your intelligence when you decide that you want a coward's way out and don't stand up for yourself. Do not do not insult other women. Do not put them in positions of compromise. We women have to look out for other women. And to young women, I say, you don't be in a rush to become a mother. First, become a wife, become a friend, and then think about what the childbirth has in store for you. Can you give that child enough time? Can you look after that child as a mother should? Get all those things in line first. Do take time out to discuss family with your future husband. Talk to him what he wants. Tell him what you want. Because these discussions are very important. The practical way of looking at life is the best way. You will have, and teach your mother as well. I used to have great disdain for my mother because I thought she was a very weak woman. I love her now. I cherish her now. I am grateful for the patience that she taught me, which I did not have early on. So empower your mothers if they are not empowered. Empower your sisters if they are not empowered. Remember that the onus of having a family, running a family, and making it a successful family is not just on a man. It's equally on a woman. And it's just not only on a woman, it's equally on a man. So
I love that message, Asma. It's a beautiful message that while you're growing yourself as a person, impacting your next generation, also be kind and thoughtful about those who raised you. They had different circumstances, you're right. And what they did or behaved like, that's how they were raised. So
exactly.
we all in our own generations have a chance to improve and forgive and learn.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Asma, for your time. Loved talking to you.
Geetika, it was my pleasure. And thank you for indulging me and getting me to talk about things which I feel very deeply about. My art practice has a lot of resonance of this as well. And I wish you all the best and look forward to talking to you more later on.
Thank you so much, Asma. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye, sweetheart.